You are watching The Story. Every Monday, we bring you a deep dive into the fascinating lives of incredible people. How Dr. Phil went from living in his car to being worth $400 million. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another original video brought to you by our team here at Alux.com. Whether you watch his show or not, we're pretty sure you've heard of Dr. Phil. Maybe you remember him from back in the Oprah days, or maybe you caught wind of one of several controversies he's been embroiled in. Either way, you might be pretty surprised to find how lucrative being a TV therapist can be. It's true that Dr. Phil has achieved incredible success thanks in no small part to Oprah, but life wasn't always so easy for him. Today, we're telling you the story of how Dr. Phil went from living in his car to being worth $400 million. But first, a little background. Who is Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil McGraw is a psychologist, author, and television personality who became internationally known when he began appearing on The Oprah Winfrey Show back in 1998. For the majority of his 20-year television career, he's been the host of a daytime talk show that bears his name. The topics on his show definitely vary, but he has a consistent presence with his straight talk, unique metaphors, tough love, and folksy advice. His wife, Robin, is also regularly seen in the audience. They've been married for 40 years and have 2 children, Jay and Jordan. He's also written at least 13 books focused on different topics like weight loss, family life, and relationships. He no longer has a license to practice psychology as he voluntarily gave it up in 2006 after there were a few ethical concerns, including him hiring a patient and him having what was called an inappropriate non-physical relationship with a patient. Phil didn't make his debut on The Oprah Winfrey Show until he was 48 years old. So what was he up to before that? For that story, we have to go back to the start. The beginning. When Phil was about 11 years old, his father, Joseph, uprooted the family and moved from Texas to Kansas so he could complete an internship as a psychologist. This was his father's lifelong dream, but it didn't come without a price. The internship was unpaid, and with little to no money coming in, Phil and his father ended up living in their car in Kansas City when Phil was 12 years old. This went on for several months, until they were finally able to secure a room at the local YMCA for $5 a week. Then they eventually got enough money together to have a one-room apartment with no heat, air conditioning, running water, or electricity. Phil was able to escape these financial struggles by getting a football scholarship to the University of Tulsa. He later transferred to Midwestern State University in Texas, where he earned a bachelor's degree in psychology, following in the footsteps of his father. By 1979, when he was 29 years old, he had earned his PhD in clinical psychology. He then went to work for his father, who set up a private practice in Wichita Falls, Texas. But they were both about to embark on a different path. A new beginning. In 1983, Phil and his father began a partnership with Texas businesswoman Thelma Box, and together they presented self-help seminars called Pathways. This partnership was very successful, but 8 years later, Phil sold his shares in the business for $325,000 without warning and left his father and Thelma behind to start his own business at the age of 41. He partnered up with Gary Dobbs to found Courtroom Sciences, Inc. This was a trial consulting firm that primarily assisted Fortune 500 companies in negotiating settlements. In fact, the TV show Bull, which came out in 2016, is based on his experiences as a trial consultant. It was a gamble for him to leave his successful work with his father behind, but just 5 years after starting his new business, McGraw was hired on by one client who would completely change the trajectory of his life. The breakthrough. In 1995, Oprah was being sued by the Texas Beef Group for making disparaging remarks about beef being connected to mad cow disease. The day after the episode aired, beef prices fell from 62 cents to 55 cents per pound, and the cattle futures dropped by 10%. She was being sued for more than $12 million. Oprah hired McGraw as a consultant for her trial. She became very impressed by him and loved his straightforward advice. She felt that others would be able to benefit from his brand of wisdom as well, so she decided to give him a platform. After she won her trial, she invited him to be a guest on her show. And you already know when you have Oprah in your corner, there's almost no limit to what can happen. Her audience quickly embraced him, and he began appearing weekly on her show as Dr. Phil. He continued to do this until his own talk show called Dr. Phil was created with Oprah's help in 2002. Of course, you can learn about Oprah's rise to the top by checking out our video Oprah Winfrey, A True Rags to Riches Story by clicking in the top right-hand corner. But we're focused on Dr. Phil right now. Let's see how this new venture affected his life and more specifically, his net worth. Outcome. As of 2019, Dr. Phil has aired for 17 seasons and has been nominated for over 25 Emmys. The show has been extremely lucrative for Dr. Phil. Thanks to syndication, he now makes about $80 million per year for the show. He also makes additional revenue by acting as executive producer for Bull and The Doctors. He's also the creator of the Doctors On Demand app, which is valued around $300 million. In 2017, he edged out Ellen DeGeneres as the highest paid TV host by about $3 million. No other TV host is making nearly as much as those two, and his earnings are set to increase even higher in 2019. By July, he had already earned out his previous year's earnings with an incredible $95 million in income. In 2018, Dr. Phil was renewed for 4 more seasons, so it'll run until at least May 2023, at which time Dr. Phil will be 73 years old. The lesson. It truly doesn't matter where you start, but where you finish. Being homeless is part of Dr. Phil McGraw's past, and he still draws from that experience to give advice to others on his show and maintain a certain perspective on life. However, he doesn't let that past define him. He created his own path forward, and luckily for him, that path intersected with Oprah. Sometimes you just have to do the best you can where you are and always be ready to embrace new opportunities as they arise. Phil never dreamed his most successful work would be on TV, but he seized the chance when it was offered, which has made all the difference. Dr. Phil is a 6-time New York Times best-selling author, and if you want to check out his best-selling book, you'll have to look for Life Code: The New Rules for Winning in the Real World. In his typical straightforward fashion, Dr. Phil gives his Sweet 16 tactics for winning in the real world, as well as guidance on how to identify and avoid the type of people who can push you off track. This book sells for $20, but to save you some money, just go to Alux.com/freebook and sign up. If it's your first time, you'll get the audiobook version for free, thanks to our partnership with Audible. The quote. While researching his story, we came across this thought-provoking quote from Dr. Phil we'd like to share with you, and it goes like this. Are you doing what you're doing today because you want to do it, or because it's what you were doing yesterday? It's so easy to fall into routine, and you get stuck in a rut where you don't want to be. Take a step back and figure out whether you're being intentional about the path you're taking or just going through the motions of your everyday life. Question. Now that we're wrapping up this story, we'd like to know, are you a fan of Dr. Phil, or do you think he's overrated? Let us know what you think in the comments. And for sticking with us until the end, here's your bonus. In 2003, Dr. Phil launched his own weight loss line selling shakes, supplements, and energy bars. This brought criticism as people didn't believe he had the expertise to get involved in the weight loss sector. When the Federal Trade Commission made it clear they intended to investigate his claims about his products, he pulled them off the market in March 2004. In October 2005, he faced a class action lawsuit from those who had purchased his $120 per month supplements. He ended up settling that lawsuit for $10.5 million. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos for you to watch next. As always, the conversation continues on social media. Thanks again, and we can't wait to have you back tomorrow.